Hello and welcome everyone to my Commander deck tech on Crick, son of Yawgmoth. This is a competitive build of Crick that's meant to be played in a CEDH meta. This deck is built to combo off as quickly as possible, taking full advantage of Crick's ability to turn life into mana. So why should you use Crick? Crick has a unique ability to turn all black mana costs into Phyrexian mana. Everyone already knows how broken Phyrexian mana is, so why Wizards decided to make a commander that turns all of one color mana into Phyrexian mana is quite perplexing, but they did it, and he's obviously able to do some broken things. A nice bonus about Crick is the fact that he's mono-colored, so you don't have to spend a ton of money on fetch lands and original duels, which significantly lowers the financial cost of the deck. I wouldn't say he's budget, but he's definitely cheaper when compared to the thousands of dollars you have to spend on most CEDH decks. Before Crick was released, Sidisi Undead Vizier was the only mono-black commander playable in CEDH. This deck is able to combo off incredibly fast using Doomsday, and it's also able to storm off as backup if there's too much disruption from your opponents to safely use the Doomsday combo. It storms off much like a Sidisi deck would, using Ad Nauseam with Aetherflux or Tendrils. Let's go over some of the pros of running this deck. It's an extremely fast combo deck, even for CEDH, giving you access to a potential win consistently on turns 2 through 4, and it can even win turn 1. The deck is pretty budget when compared to most CEDH decks. It has a variety of strategies available to you if you can't go for the Doomsday win. Turning your black mana into Phyrexian mana is just plain old broken. Here's some of the cons of running the deck. The Doomsday combo is a glass cannon that will get you killed if it gets disrupted at all. That's why the deck runs a ton of hand disruption like Duress and Thoughtseize, which gives you some information to see if you're safe to attempt to combo off. No blue mana, so you can't interact with spells on the stack, the exception being Imp's Mischief. Crick has no card draw attached to him, so you might get drowned in card advantage by commanders like Tymna or Thrasios. You're playing mono black, so you have no way to interact with artifacts and enchantments. So if a card like Stranglehold is on the battlefield, you basically can't win until that player is eliminated. Like most CEDH decks, this deck wins through comboing out. Since Crick cheats mana costs, he can allow you to combo out incredibly quickly. Crick turns black mana symbols into Phyrexian mana, which means the combos in the deck want to prioritize using cards that include black mana symbols over cards that include colorless mana symbols in their cost. Here are the combos in the deck. The main combo in the deck is the Doomsday combo. Doomsday has an all black mana cost, meaning you can pay 6 life and no mana to cast it. So what is the Doomsday pile for the combo? The first card or top card is either Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract. The rest of the cards in the Doomsday pile are Sacrifice, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Walking Ballista, and Viscera Seer. The order doesn't matter since you will draw all 4 at once using Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract. This combo is a little complicated, so let's go over it one step at a time. Step 1. You need to have Doomsday in your hand, some way to draw the first card in your Doomsday pile, and Crick on the battlefield. Step 2. Cast Doomsday and set up your pile how I described earlier. Draw either Infernal Contract or Cruel Bargain by cycling or casting a cantrip. Step 4. Cast Infernal Contract or Cruel Bargain, which draws you the rest of your deck. Step 5. Cast Sacrifice killing Crick, which gives you 7 black mana. Step 6. Use the 7 black mana to cast the rest of the combo. Step 7. Combo out using the classic Mikaeus and Walking Ballista combo to win. You win with this combo by sacrificing Walking Ballista using Viscera Seer, which triggers Undying. Walking Ballista then comes in with a 1/1 counter. You then remove the counter to do 1 damage to an opponent. You then have to sacrifice Walking Ballista to Viscera Seer because of Mikaeus' +1/+1 ability. Sacrificing Walking Ballista triggers Undying again, since it doesn't have a 1/1 counter on it, and you can repeat this process indefinitely until all your opponents are at 0 life. Let's figure out the math behind how much life you can pay for Crick's ability to combo off. This first table requires no mana to combo out with Doomsday, meaning you only pay life for the entire combo. This one you need 1 black mana available to cast Sacrifice at the end of the combo. You need to have 2 black mana available for this table, 1 for Sacrifice and 1 to pay part of the mana cost for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract. You need to have 3 black mana available for this one, 1 for Sacrifice and 2 to pay part of the mana cost for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract. This table needs 4 black mana available, 1 for Sacrifice and 3 for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract. You need 5 black mana available here, 1 for Sacrifice, 3 for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract, and 1 for you to cycle or cast your 1 mana cantrip. For this table you need to have 6 black mana available, 1 for Sacrifice, 3 for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract, 1 to cycle or cast a cantrip, and 1 mana to pay part of the mana cost for Doomsday. You'll need 7 black mana available for this table, 1 for Sacrifice, 3 for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract, 1 to cycle or cast a cantrip, and 2 to pay part of the mana cost for Doomsday. This final table needs you to have 8 black mana available, 1 for Sacrifice, 3 for Cruel Bargain or Infernal Contract, 1 to cycle or cast a cantrip, and 3 for Doomsday. If you have 3 or less life, you can't combo off using Doomsday, because cutting your life in half rounded up twice will leave you with 0 life. There are some interesting tweaks you can make to your Doomsday pile if you already have one of the combo pieces in your hand. You can either add a mana rock that gets you black mana like Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, or Lotus Petal, or even Ring of Filth to the pile if you need the extra mana. Or you can get hand disruption like Duress or even Unmask if you have a black card available for its alternative casting costs to protect you from disruption when going off. There's actually another combo in the deck that I accidentally put in, just because all 3 cards are just solid cards for the deck that so happen to combo off when paired together. The 3 cards are Aetherflux Reservoir, Bolas' Citadel, and Sensei's Divining Top. This combo works by continually putting Senseis on top of your deck and casting it for 1 life using Bolas' Citadel, which continually gains you life and increases your storm count, which should allow you to snipe everyone with Aetherflux Reservoir as long as you have enough cards in your deck, since Senseis draws you a card every time you use it. You can use Tendrils of Agony as a replacement for Aetherflux Reservoir, however it's nowhere near as effective, and you'll be lucky if you can kill 1 or 2 opponents with it. Now let's go over every card that I run in the deck. Black has access to the most powerful tutors in the game, so a mono black deck like this one is going to run a lot of solid tutors to take full advantage of the color's greatest strength. You are most likely going to use the tutors to search up Doomsday, so keep that in mind when I go over this section. Demonic Tutor, Grim Tutor, and Diabolic Tutor. Demonic Tutor is an obvious auto-include. However, Grim Tutor and even Diabolic Tutor are also fantastic in this deck, since they both have 2 black mana symbols in their casting costs, making them incredibly cheap to cast with Crick. Razaketh's Right works both as a tutor and a card with cycling, which are both incredibly useful in this deck. If you pay 4 life to cast Dark Petition using Crick, you basically recycle the 3 colorless mana that you pay to cast this card if you have Spell Mastery. Beseech the Queen is great at searching up Doomsday, since you only need 3 lands in play to search it up. Another great aspect of the card is its 3 black mana symbols, which allows you to cast this card by only paying life. Demir Machinations can transmute into Doomsday, or any of the other myriad of 3 CMC spells in the deck. Imperial Seal and Vampiric Tutor are both powerful tutors that put the card that you're searching for on top of your deck. Scheming Symmetry is an interesting card for this deck. When it was first spoiled, I thought it was terrible, even for Commander, but it's actually a really solid card in this deck. The deck runs a lot of cycling cards and cantrips, which allows you to easily grab the card that you put on top of your deck. As long as you can grab the card you tutored for first, this card actually becomes very good. Here's a helpful tip. You probably don't want to target a blue player with this card, since they'll probably grab a free counterspell like Force of Will or Force of Negation, and they might be able to draw it at instant speed with a card like Brainstorm. Just be careful when using this card, because letting an opponent tutor up any card is incredibly risky, but it's definitely worthwhile if you can win the turn that you use this card. Expedition Map is used to tutor up Cabal Coffers, and if you already have it, you can either grab Urborg or Deserted Temple to synergize with Cabal Coffers. Card draw is an important part of any commander deck, especially in EDH. Crick has no card advantage or card value attached to him, so we have to depend on the deck to produce card advantage for us, meaning we need to run a decent chunk of spells dedicated to drawing us cards. Sign of Blood, Night's Whisper, and Succumb to Temptation are all generic card draw effects for black. Dark Confidant is an auto-include in any deck running black in EDH. It's basically the competitive version of Phyrexian Arena. Ad Nauseam is one of the most powerful card draw spells in EDH, however it can really take a toll on your life total. Even though Ad Nauseam synergizes horribly with this deck, since our life points are an incredibly useful resource, the sheer amount of card draw potential with this card and its ability to easily enable us to storm off more than makes up for its drawbacks. Necropotence is an obviously powerful card, especially in a mono black deck that's able to easily cast it. Greed turns into a worse version of Necropotence in this deck, basically reading pay for life, draw a card. Even though Villas has anti-synergy with cards like Ad Nauseam and Dark Confidant, he's just such a card drawing monster in this deck. He ends up being well worth the risk. Cruel Bargain and Infernal Contract are used to draw the rest of your deck when comboing off using Doomsday. Sensei's Divining Top isn't exactly card draw, but it's card selection, which can be just as powerful, especially for how efficiently costed it is. Here are the cards that allow us to draw Infernal Contract or Cruel Bargain after we have used Doomsday. These are all one black CMC card draw effects, so they can be as efficient as possible, only costing 2 life or 1 mana. Night Haze, Aphotic Wisps, and Cremate are cantrips for 1 mana, so they at least do something. Like Night Haze or Aphotic Wisps can give Crick evasion so you can swing in, or Cremate can shut down a combo that uses a card from the graveyard. Razaketh's Right, Fade from Memory, Scarab Feast, and Barrenmoor are used to cycle, the best one probably being Razaketh's Right since it's also a tutor, an incredibly inefficient tutor, but a tutor nevertheless. Fade from Memory and Scarab Feast can disrupt the combo deck that uses the graveyard, and Barrenmoor is a land, a come to play tap land, but still a land, so you can play it in a pinch. One of the main things that separates CEDH decks from casual decks is the heavy use of fast mana. Even with Crick's ability to exchange your life for mana, we want to run a lot of mana ramp to combo off as quickly as possible. Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Chromox, and Mox Diamond go into just about every CEDH deck. They're especially useful in this deck since we can use them when storming off once we've drawn a ton of cards off Ad Nauseam or Villas. Thelwar Stone, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens, and Thought Vessel are 2 CMC mana rocks, which are solid in this deck, since Crick is basically 4 mana, allowing us to play him on at least turn 3. Often the colorless part of a spell's cost is the only thing that we have to pay, so Jet Medallion helps tremendously to lower the cost of our spells. This deck is mainly based around comboing off as soon as possible, and Lotus Petal can help get the extra mana that you need, and like the other 0 CMC mana rocks, this card helps to increase your storm count. Blood Pet works like Lotus Petal, since you can pay 2 life to cast it, netting you 1 black mana when you sacrifice it. Blood Celebrant can pay for the colorless part of spells, since you can just pay 3 life to activate his ability. Dark Ritual and Cabal Ritual are the 2 ritual effects available in black, that become even more powerful with Crick, since you can pay 2 life for the mana cost to net even more mana. Crypt Gas gives you an additional black mana whenever you tap a swamp for mana. It also has Extort, which works great with Crick since you pay 2 life to drain 3, as long as you have 3 opponents. Scourge Familiar is used to get extra mana when storming off after you've drawn a ton of cards off Ad Nauseam or Villas. Bubbling Muck gives you some extra mana for your swamps so you can potentially combo off much earlier. Reign of Filth is an amazing card for any Glass Cannon combo deck, letting you go all in and potentially netting us a ton of mana. This is a mono black deck, so we are able to run a decent amount of creature removal. However, we have no way to deal with artifacts or enchantments, which unfortunately is just the cost of playing a mono black deck that you're just going to have to accept. Dead of Winter is an incredibly efficient board wipe at just 3 mana, and hopefully Crick is able to dodge it with his ability to power himself up with +1/+1 counters. Massacre is great at killing mana dorks and annoying low drop stacks creatures since they all have low toughness. Crick should be able to dodge the -2/-2 drain on Massacre since he'll get a +1/+1 counter when you cast it. Also, this card can be played for free if an opponent controls the plains, which is relatively likely. Not as much as an island, but the possibility is still likely. And of course you should have a swamp. Toxic Deluge has become the default board wipe for black. 3 mana is just so much more efficient than the 4 mana Damnation. The life payment is definitely more annoying in this deck than other decks since we obviously abuse our life total more than just about any other deck in the format. Villas Broker of Blood is able to give a creature -1/-1 until end of turn for 1 black mana and 2 life. This ability is really there to draw a ton of cards, but it can also be useful to snipe down your opponent's creatures. Pestilence can be activated for 2 life instead of 1 mana. This card can keep your opponents from having any creatures in play, and hopefully Crick will be big enough to survive through the activations. Font of Agonies is basically targeted Pestilence, allowing you to continually kill any creatures that your opponents play. Snuff Out is a targeted removal spell that can potentially be played for free for the low cost of 4 life. The deck's best way of dealing with instants and sorceries is not allowing them to be played in the first place. These hand disruption spells are essential for scattering out our opponent's hands, letting us know if we are able to combo off. Duress is one of the best hand disruption spells in Magic. It hits any non-creature, non-land card, which importantly hits instants, which is really what we're looking to hit so we are not disrupted while comboing off. Inquisition of Kozilek is another incredibly powerful discard effect. This one hits all non-land cards with CMC 3 or less, which is most cards in EDH. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit Force of Will, which is definitely awkward. Thoughtseize is the best 1 CMC hand disruption spell since it hits any non-land card, with its only drawback being a payment of 2 life, which is actually surprisingly annoying if you want to use this after you've used Infernal Contract or Cruel Bargain when you're going for your Doomsday combo. So if you want to put a hand disruption card in your Doomsday pile, I'd actually recommend Duress over Thoughtseize. Drill Bit is a hand disruption card that has the drawback of an opponent needing to take damage for the spell that costs 1 mana, which is definitely an annoying drawback, but one that is not impossible to reach. I ran out of good 1 CMC hand disruption cards that hit instants, so this one was able to make the list. Unmask is an amazing hand disruption card whose cost can be cheated by exiling another black card from your hand. If you have a black card to exile, Unmask is the best hand disruption card for a Doomsday pile. These are the cards that didn't fall under any of the previous categories. Doomsday, Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Walking Ballista, Viscera Seer, and Sacrifice are all obviously part of the Doomsday combo, which I already went over in the combo section. Exsanguinate is used as a solid way to gain a ton of life, especially when used in conjunction with Cabal Coffers. Tendrils of Agony is used as a way to storm off after you've drawn a ton of cards with Ad Nauseam or Vilis. Aetherflux Reservoir is used as a great way to gain some much needed life, and as a way to kill your opponents when storming off. Bolas's Citadel can be played fairly early on since it has 3 black mana symbols in its casting cost. Overall, it's just an incredibly powerful card in Commander. Inferno Darkness is one of the most powerful stacks effects available to us in mono black. It has the potential to completely shut your opponents out of the game. Also, its cumulative upkeep cost can be paid with just life using Crick, which is pretty convenient. Imp's Mischief is the only way mono black can deal with instants and sorceries on the stack, so it can protect our combo when we are going off. Sudden Spoiling is used to shut down opponents' creatures, and it has split second so your opponents can't react to this spell, which can stop certain creature-based combos like Kiki Jiki. These are the lands that I run in the deck. The 2 life cost from Ancient Tomb is annoying in this deck, but it's well worth it for a land that produces 2 colorless mana, especially since Crick usually takes care of the black mana cost of spells. Barren Moor is used to cycle after you've cast Doomsday, but it can also be played in a pinch if you need it to make a land drop. Cabal Coffers is an incredibly powerful land for any mono black deck. It can net you a ridiculous amount of mana, especially when combined with Urborg. Speaking of which, we obviously run Urborg, just because it combos well with Cabal Coffers. Deserted Temple is used to untap Cabal Coffers to net even more mana. 25 snow-covered swamps fill up the rest of the land base. We run a ton of basics to combo with Cabal Coffers, and so the deck can be resilient against non-basic land hate like Back to Basics or Blood Moon. It is incredibly difficult to pilot this deck, especially since you have to constantly decide whether or not you're going to pay life or mana for each spell you cast. This is especially difficult when trying to figure out if you can combo off, and how soon you can combo off. Hopefully the charts I made in the combo section will assist you in figuring out how much life and mana you need to combo off. When looking at your opening hand, you have to figure out your entire game plan looking at those cards, and looking at what commanders your opponents are playing. I'm going to go over some opening hands and the thought process behind each of them, since you have the life payment variable that is not present in any other deck. These are the opening hands that I randomly drew up. First hand, 3 snow-covered swamps, Mana Vault, Lotus Petal, Aphotic Wisps, and Bolas's Citadel. This hand is very interesting, and allows us to play Crick turn 1 if we waste Lotus Petal, or turn 2 if we don't waste Lotus Petal, which is what I'd recommend. This hand also lets us play Bolas's Citadel turn 3. The Aphotic Wisps is useful for a combo potential or as a way to cycle through the deck in a pinch. This hand is highly reliant on Bolas's Citadel resolving, and hoping that we draw some solid cards, which is pretty likely if Bolas's Citadel is on the battlefield. This hand is basically just waiting for us to tutor up or draw Doomsday to win. Overall, it's a solid hand that's a little risky, since you need Bolas's Citadel to resolve and you need to draw into decent cards, but this hand enables this deck to be ready to win at any time. Second hand, 2 snow-covered swamps, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, Viscera, Toxic Deluge, Greed, and Dark Petition. This hand is incredibly slow. The only way I'd keep this hand is if your opponents are playing slow decks, or if they're playing incredibly creature-heavy decks, so you could blow them out using Toxic Deluge. This hand is highly dependent on drawing one more land or mana rock, and it needs Crick to resolve on turn 4. It does have Greed as backup, but if Crick gets dealt with on turn 4, it will be such a huge tempo blowout that will be out of the game for basically 2 turns trying to recover. This hand is in desperate need of mana ramp, so if we can draw some in the next 2 turns, that would make this a solid hand. Overall, a slow but powerful hand that has the potential to become incredibly powerful, but it also has the potential to fall flat on its face. Third hand, 2 snow-covered swamps, Soul Ring, Thoughtseize, Scarab Feast, Dead of Winter, and Scourge Familiar. This hand lets us play Crick turn 2, Then we just need to draw or tutor Doomsday to win, since we have a way to cycle using Scarab Feast, and we have Thoughtseize as protection. This hand can also keep creature decks from going off by using Dead of Winter. Scourge Familiar is a bit of a dead card, but it might be useful if the game goes really long for whatever reason, which is unlikely since we are on the verge of winning. Fourth hand: Snow-Covered Swamp, Soul Ring, Cremate, Thought Vessel, Dark Confidant, Ad Nauseam, and Walking Ballista. This hand is incredibly powerful. It gives us a turn 2 Crick and a turn 3 Ad Nauseam, which we can use to get Doomsday and potentially win on the spot depending on how much life we pay for Ad Nauseam and what cards we get. Even if Ad Nauseam gets countered, we have Dark Confidant as backup. We already have a way to cycle with Cremate, and Walking Ballista is in hand so we can grab Duress when we use Doomsday, meaning we are also protected when comboing off. Overall, it's an incredibly powerful and resilient hand. Fifth hand: Chrome Mox, Reign of Filth, Duress, Fade from Memory, Demonic Tutor, Razaketh's Right, and Walking Ballista. Just pure jank. What are you gonna do? Duress and cycle a couple times? Just freaking garbage. This last one is a custom-made god hand that lets you win turn 1. Ancient Tomb, Mana Crypt, Lotus Petal, Doomsday, and a card with cycling or a cantrip. Yes, that's right, you only need 5 cards. After you cast Crick, you'll be at 32 life, and if you look at the chart I made in the combo section, you need 1 mana to cast Sacrifice at the end of the combo, which Lotus Petal is so kind to provide. There are a couple variations to this hand that allow for turn 1 victories, but I'll give that mission in my comments section to figure out since this video is already long enough as is. I want to thank you for watching my deck tech on Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a like. No, just kidding, you need to smash that like button, comment, and subscribe. And again, thank you for watching.